Here it is, the Mode Tempo, a 60% keyboard by Mode Designs. It is no surprise that at first glance, you can see it retains the same design language as all of its previous keyboards from the 80, the 65, the Sonnet, and the Envoy. More in particular, it is pretty much the little brother of the 65, and it has gone nothing but improvements on the design with essentially no downsides. In this video, I'll be briefly discussing the build guide for the Tempo, showcasing its features and specs, a comparison with the Mode 65 and why it's relevant, and providing a handful of sound tests with different configurations so that you get a sample range of sound profiles that this keyboard is capable of producing. Okay, now let's get started. First, let's run through the unboxing content. The hardshell carry case that my package came in seems to be pretty standard, and within it is the keyboard itself. In my creator sample unit, I opted for the Mirage color with white bottom weight. There are also two sample accent bars, and mine were the E-white and polished silver mirror. Then there are 3 sheets of foam, which include the case foam, the PE foam, and the dampening plate foam. All of these are optional, and you do not have to buy or use them with the Tempo. There are also 5 different plate options, which include palm, FR4, aluminum, carbon fiber, and copper. In my case, I chose copper. PCB options include solder, hot swap split backspace, hot swap full backspace, and here in my sample, I got the hot swap full backspace. Then I also got some lattice mounts with rubber feet, the USB-C daughter board, some screws and tools, Durox stabilizers which are only for creator sample units, some 205 grade 0 injection lube, and a keycap puller and switch puller. So the Tempo starts at a price of $259 US at pre-order starting September 6th, which is absolutely fair in my honest opinion given the amount of customizations that Mode is known for having in their products, as well as their build quality, materials used, coloring finish, ease of assembly, and their fast fulfillment time. Now speaking of fulfillment, it is expected to begin in December of this year, which is about 3 months away from now. Now I want to speed through the build guide as quickly as I can because Mode is making one of their own if it's not already up. But it's actually really straightforward and easy, so here we go. First thing is test your PCB before any assembly. Connect your daughter board via the JST cable to the PCB. Remember to check the orientation of the 4 pins inside the headers so they go in the right way. Connect your USB-C cable to a computer and open up VIA. Load up the key tester tab, turn on test matrix, and start touching your pads with a tweezer to make sure all the switch sockets are responding. If everything works out, then you can disconnect everything and start on the keyboard build itself. Next thing I did was unscrew the bottom weight off the keyboard case via the 4 screws. Gently lift the keyboard case off so you expose the internals of the weight, where you can install the square rubber feet. And then the round rubber feet would be installed on the bottom of the case itself like so. Replace the keyboard case back on top of the weight and secure the screws back on, and remember not to over tighten any screws when building as you don't want to strip any threads. The next step can either be installing the daughter board by placing it down into the center like so and securing it, or installing the accent bar. It doesn't matter which order you do it in, but I had the daughter board installed first. With the accent bar, you just line it up on the back and secure it via 3 screws from the inside. When you're doing this, you may also want to brace the accent bar in place with one hand while you fasten the screws in. Now we have to prep the PCB stack. If you plan on using the PE foam, place it on the PCB before installing your stabilizers. If you plan on using the plate foam, then you'll stack that on top of the PE foam. If you don't plan on using any foam, then go ahead and install the stabilizers at this point. Then pick up your plate and start installing the switches, starting with the corners and then carefully align them with the PCB switch sockets. If you have a hot swap PCB, be sure to brace the socket pads on the back with a finger when installing a switch. At this point, you can also install your choice of lattice blocks into the keyboard case. The process is very similar to the Mode Envoy. The Tempo will have a total of 6 lattice block mounting spots, 4 on the top and 2 at the bottom as shown. There will also be 4 different types of lattice blocks available during purchase, where each will provide a different stiffness or bounce for your typing experience. If you plan on using the case foam, you should also install them here, and make sure that the JST cable is routed through the middle cutout of the case foam like so. Make sure that the case foam is aligned in the proper orientation. As you can see, there are rounded cutouts on both sides to signify where the PCB to case retention screws will be. I also have to note that in the final production units, there will only be 2 retention screws instead of the 4 that you see in my creator sample here. Now you can connect the PCB to the daughter board via the JST cable. Carefully flip the PCB stack over and lower it into the case where it should rest on the lattice blocks. Then you'll want to secure the retaining screws through the PCB and onto the case to keep it in place. In this example, I'm only going to secure 2 out of the 4 retaining screws because these are the 2 spots that will be available in the final production unit. At this point, you can start installing your keycaps. So I want to also thank Mode for sending their themed keycaps in the package, and my goodness, the font and legends on these are very crispy. The colors are great. They're made of a mixed blend of PBT and ABS, which means they should have a higher resistance to shine, or at least not shine as quickly as full ABS keycaps. It's also keycap sets like these that make me want to stop buying GMK sets. Side note, I've never seen the Mirage color in person until now, and it looks a lot darker than what I expected. Looking at it from the monitors and the renders, it looked a lot lighter, and had I known that it was going to be this dark, I would have chosen a different color combination on the accents and the bottom weight. Some quick physical specs. The tempo is 298 by 113 millimeters with a front height of 19.4 millimeters, while the typing angle is 5.8 degrees if this matters to anyone. But now I want to talk about the comparison with the Mode 65 because there are a lot of similarities that transferred over. First off is the general shape, which is super obvious from the sides and all around. The difference here is that the tempo has elevated and lifted sides, not only to give the illusion it's floating when viewing from this angle, but also functionally better, allowing the user to grab and pick up. Aesthetically, the look of the sides designed between the Tempo and 65 is subjective. The next thing is that Mode had ditched the adhesive rubber feet used in previous keyboard designs and now went with the press fit installation. This allows a cleaner uninstall and easier replacements should it ever become necessary. An example would be users who purchase different colored weights and cases and want to swap combinations in and out from time to time. Then there is the accent bar that goes on the back. The Mode 65 uses a magnetic attachment method to install, which created an issue in some units where the accent bar was slightly loose, and you can tell by tapping on the sides to hear that shift. The Tempo, on the other hand, requires the accent bar to be installed via screws, which made it a lot more secure. Now for the sound tests, I uploaded a handful of different builds that will be labeled at the top of each typing test to give a sample range of what the Tempo is capable of producing. Obviously, there are a ton of different configurations with the massive options of switches and keycaps available on the market, so take what I have as just a fraction of what's possible. So, what do you think? Personally, I like all of the sound tests where all the foam was used. I think without the foam, it sounds too clacky and high-pitched for my taste, but some people out there might like it. Let me know down in the comments below. Now, if you do want to pick one of these up, please use my affiliate link in the description below because it does really help me out. Okay, that's all I have for this video. I really appreciate your time watching, and please hit the subscribe button if you enjoy my keyboard videos and want to see more in the future. And as always, I'll catch you next time. Peace.